This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Around the far turn they go. Carnival Court, Montana native. To their outside, 50 Shades of Hay. And there she goes. Princess of Silvar is mounting a bid. She's forced to go toward the outside as they make their way around the far turn. Princess of Silmar has picked them off. 1, 2, 3. Princess of Silmar has seized command at the top of the stretch, and the field turns for home. Princess of Silmar on top. Carnival Court giving way. 50 Shades of Hay on the outside. Princess of Silmar turning it on here in the stretch at Saratoga, opening up by 4 lengths. 50 Shades of Hay is second as they come down to the final 16th. They're coming down to the line. Princess of Silmar ran like a champion this afternoon.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Asano. On this morning's show, a trio of special guests, all of whom are enjoying very fine Saratoga meets, beginning with Mr. Tom Albertrani, who will saddle Twilight Eclipse for tomorrow's Sword Dancer. Linda Rice will join us, and she has Kid Cruz for next Saturday's Travers. And finally, Mr. Bill Mott, who has got a very busy stakes day in front of him, both here at Saratoga as well as Arlington. We will hear from Todd Pletcher about this afternoon's Alabama favorite, Stop Charging Maria, and we will also hear from Mr. Graham Motion about his Alabama entrant, Fortune Pearl. We'll take a look at a trio of Spa Stakes to the internal breaks, so all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our August 16th edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com. Good morning once again on this somewhat chilly Alabama Day morning. It's going to be a gorgeous day here at Saratoga. We want to take this moment, we'll do this throughout this morning's show, to remind you, we've got a programming note about next Saturday's show. Next Saturday being, of course, Travers Day in the early post of 11:35, we will be on 1 hour earlier. So the Travers Day edition of Down the Stretch will begin at 9 a.m. All right, some big news this week. Larry Collmus, the voice of the Triple Crown, the Breeders' Cup, and Gulfstream Park in the winter, has been chosen to succeed Tom Durkin as NYRA's next race caller. The 47-year-old Collmus will begin next April with the final weeks of Aqueduct. He will also call races at Belmont Spring Summer, of course here at Saratoga, and Belmont Fall as well. John Imbrial will call the races until Collmus begins next April and will remain as the main race caller for Aqueduct. Collmus, who was recently hired by Churchill Downs, will leave that position. Now Durkin, who has been with NYRA for 23 years, will call his last race here on August 31st and is scheduled to join us on this show on Saturday, August 30th. And Verrazano, who was brilliant at times during his 3-year-old season, has been retired. Campaigned in Europe this year, Verrazano finished second and third in a pair of turf stakes before finishing 9th in what was to be his final career start in the Coral Eclipse. Verrazano was found to be lame following the Coral Eclipse and was subsequently retired. All right, Todd Pletcher trained Verrazano while he raced here in the United States, and this afternoon Todd will have the favorite in the Alabama in Stop Charging Maria. Back on July 31st, we taped a lengthy interview with Todd, and we're about to replay the portion of that interview concerning Stop Charging Maria. So, from July 31st, here is Todd Pletcher. Beginning with the Coaching Club American Oaks and Stop Charging Maria. As we pick it up, she's number 1, third on the outside. Todd, on paper, it looked like, overall a weak grade 1. but there was nothing weak about this performance.
No, I think this was certainly a breakthrough performance for her 3-year-old year, and we had accomplished quite a bit as a 2-year-old. Ended the year with wins in the Tempted and the Demoiselle, and things just didn't go really well this winter for her, and her first 2 starts were a little disappointing. It seems like once we got her up to Saratoga, she really things turned around for her. Delivered a big race in the Black Eyed Susan, but I think this was a special performance from her. And on paper it was a little bit of a weak group, but I think, like you say, the way that she did it was pretty convincing, and it was a big win for her, and to get that grade 1 that we've been looking for.
How'd she come out of the coaching club, and is the Alabama next?
So far she's come out of it really well. She's been training great, and certainly the Alabama's where we're headed. What
do you think about 10 furlongs for her?
If you'd asked me that last year, I would have said probably not. But based on her now having 3 wins at a mile and an eighth, I'd have to say it's well within her scope.
That was a very big performance from Stop Charging Maria in the coaching club American Oaks. Obviously, it wasn't the strongest Grade 1 field, but she absolutely dominated, and it was substantially better than any of her previous races. If she moves forward this afternoon, and as you heard Todd say, he thinks she can handle 10 furlongs, she's going to be hard to handle later this afternoon. Now, on our very first show from here at Saratoga, back on July 19th, one of our guests was Mr. Graham Motion. And within the interview that day with Graham, we discussed an improving filly he had by the name of Fortune Pearl, who will start later on in the Alabama. So, from back on July 19th, here is Graham Motion. Later on at the meet in the Alabama, to be exact, you are pointing Fortune Pearl, who is next to last at the top of the screen, en route to a nice victory in last in the Delaware Oaks. Graham, she seems to be a filly on the improve.
This filly's really put it together. I mean, I ran her in a claiming race in her first start at Tampa over the winter. She really was unimpressive in the morning, and I was kind of searching to find out where she fit. That's why we started her on the grass. But ever since then, she's just blossomed. Each race has been an improvement, and she runs a big race here at Delaware.
Now, tomorrow's coaching club, Grade 1, without Untappable, is, to be very blunt, a pretty weak Grade 1. Was it just too quick to wheel her back for tomorrow?
I think it was. I mean, she ran a big race here. We spaced her races out last time, and we really like the idea of the mile and a quarter in the Alabama.
That's interesting, because most trainers, particularly with young 3-year-old fillies, are concerned about 10 furlongs. You think the mile and a quarter is going to suit her?
Well, that's appealing too, because hopefully it puts some of the others off.
Yeah. So might Fortune Pearl be the upsetter in this afternoon's Alabama? Let's now take a look at the stakes action over the next 7 days here at Saratoga. Of course, this afternoon, the highlight, the Alabama. The Lake Placid for 3-year-old fillies going 9 furlongs on turf. Drew a very short field. In fact, there's only 3 fillies in here who look like they have any legitimate chance. Chad Brown's got the likely favorite and second choice in Minaret and Excellence, and Bill Mott's got the other filly who has a chance. Tomorrow, the Sword Dancer going 1.5 miles on the proper surface, as well as the Aladar, which will feature the return of Alpha. On Monday, the Summer Colony for fillies and mares. Next Wednesday, the Better Talk Now. On Thursday, the Union Avenue for New York breds, as well as the New York Turf Riders Steeplechase Handicap. Next Friday, the Personal Ensign, as well as the Tail of the Cat. And next Saturday, and again an 11:35 first post next Saturday, featuring the Travers, the King's Bishop. King's Bishop may not be a very big field, but it could be a fascinating horse race. The Ballerina for fillies and mares at 7/8, as well as the Ballston Spa. So all of that coming up over the next 7 days here at beautiful and historic Saratoga. And we're up to our first break. When we return, Mr. Tom Albertrani will join us as we go to this break, the 4-Star Dave. For the first time in 3 years, without Wise Dan. The $1.55 to the dollar favorite, number 1, the Speedy Silver Max. So we'll take a look at the 4-Star Dave to the break. Back with Tom Albertrani right after these messages.
And the rough Silver Max fires right off the mark, and Syed is going to take it to him right from the start. Into the first turn, Silver Max the lead, and now Syed backs off with Jose Ortiz, and they allow Silver Max a clear lead going into the first turn. Grand Arch has come away third, Seek again fourth toward the inside, Dorset, and Jack Milton. So around the first turn, and it is Silver Max in control here, out with his usual front-running tact. He gets an opening quarter in 23-1. Not far behind, though, is Syed, second by 3. Grand Arch runs along in third. Late running Seek again, about 6 lengths from the lead. Then Dorset, who sets up outside of Jack Milton as they continue their run up the backstretch. And now Syed coming after Silver Max, the half up and 46 flat, so into the far turn. The battle is joined now. Silver Max and Syed, and now they're beginning to let out all stops. Robbie Alvarado has put Silver Max to an all-out drive, and Syed grabbed the lead away from him. But right back at him comes Silver Max, and coming to them is Grand Arch on the outside, and Seek again is just in behind the lead. Now running fourth and looking for a way through. Silver Max comes up empty. Syed comes away with the lead. Grand Arch and Seek again gets stalled in behind Syed. Now he's got some room. Now he's got some room at the inside. They're coming down to the finish. Grand Arch on the outside. Seek again. Those two down to the line, and it is Seek again. Joel Rosario with complete sang-froid on the rail the whole way to defeat Grand Arch in a thrilling edition of the Four-Star Day.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Sovereign Stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign Stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
This summer?
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casano, and Seek again for Bill Mott, who will join us a bit later. Joel Rosario cutting back to a mile and overcomes severe traffic trouble through the lane to run down Grand Arch with Jack Milton third. Our first guest this morning has enjoyed a very fine meet, including winning a race yesterday. He's won a couple of stakes at the meet, and he's going to try to add to that tomorrow with Twilight Eclipse. In the Sword Dancer, we welcome back to Down the Stretch, Mr. Tom Albertrani. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
Nice to see you as always. Congratulations. It's been a
Thank you.
very good meet.
Yes, it has.
And we're going to have some fun looking back at the 2 stakes wins, beginning with the Shine Again, and Better Lucky is number 6 in here. Coming off a disappointing effort over what I thought was her favorite surface on grass in the Just a Game. Tom, it surprised me she was in here going 7/8 on dirt. Talk about the decision to run her here.
Well, I've always had confidence in her running her on the dirt because she started out on the dirt her first couple of races, and then we decided to move her to the turf in the Sands Point in her 3-year-old campaign just because that race was coming up fairly light, and I thought we had a good chance to win it, not knowing if she would handle the turf, but as it worked out, she handled it fine. She won that day, and we just kind of kept her there. All of her races have been on the grass ever since then, and she actually ran very well over the grass. But, you know, we tried on the poly track in the past spring here, and she ran very well on the poly, too, to be second in a Grade 1 at Keeneland. And I just felt confident enough to run it back on the dirt. And I know she loves the slop. That's another factor. So, you know, the distance, 7/8, I think, was a good distance to bring her back in. I was a little worried at the 3-8 pole, though, to be honest. I didn't think she was going to make up that ground, but she came with a great run, and she's just a nice filly. You know, she really does well on any surface.
you know, they were ding-donging it pretty good up there in front, so you
Yeah.
got to be pleased with that. And here she comes. This was actually her first win on a dry dirt racetrack. That's a heck of a way to get your first win.
You know, we felt that she's grade 1 placed on the turf. She's grade 1 placed on the poly. We said, you know, at this point in her career, we have nothing to lose by trying her back on the dirt, and actually it would open the door to the ballerina, and it just worked out perfect for us.
So will the ballerina next Saturday be her next start?
Yes, it will.
How'd she come out of the shine again?
She's in super condition, couldn't be better. She's happy since she's been here, and she's been training fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
The 10 ski back on August 11th, and we are about to take a look at Miss Frost, number 6 in here. And please pay close attention to what happens going into the first turn. Because going a mile on the inner turf course, you want to save some ground going into the first turn. And what happens? She gets fanned out wide, but it didn't matter, Tom. She ran big in here.
She sure did. Actually, it worked out good. In her case, she'd rather be away from horses. And if she gets crowded, she gets very intimidated, and she just loses her rhythm when she's in tight quarters. So this actually worked out really well for us because it gave her a chance to be away from horses, and she found herself in a great spot here, all by herself. So it really worked out to our advantage, I think.
She had shown courage winning an entry-level allowance the race before this. I like the way she gutted it out that day, but this was a move forward for her.
It definitely was a move forward for her. You know, she had a little time off during the winter. You know, her first race back, she just kind of needed that race. And she came back with another good effort, and then, you know, she won her last start prior to the stake. And, you know, this was a great performance by her, and she's really very game.
And it was kind of nice to see Edgar back. You rode Edgar Prado this day, and he rode her very well.
We got Edgar off the duck for the meet, so it was a good day. And he fits this filly very well. He really does, and he did a nice job with her.
Now, how'd she come out of this race?
She came out of it very good. She's in good spirits, and we're going to try to run it back the end of the month in a similar race called the Risk Averse here. Pretty much the same kind of race here.
So it would be a race restricted to
fillies
who haven't won a graded stakes.
Well, there's no restriction to it. It's overnight stake for filly 3-year-olds, similar to this one.
Well, she's doing awfully well. Two very, very nice stakes wins. Now tomorrow you're going to run Twilight Eclipse in a competitive sword dancer. Earlier this year you went to Dubai for the Rich Shima Classic, and he was in absolutely top form. What happened in Dubai?
You know, I just don't think he handled that trip very well. I mean, although he looked good, he looked great before he went over there. You know, while the time he was over there, he was a little edgy, and you know, I think horses get jet lagged just like people probably, and he just didn't handle it very well. But since he came back, all was good with him. He ran a fantastic race in the United Nations, so we were really happy to see the horse return back and, you know, look to be at his best.
We hear all the time that for certain horses, it takes quite a while to get over that trip to Dubai and back. How long did it take him?
Well, he was there for about 9 days. And, you know, knowing I've been there for several years, training out there and being an assistant trainer out there, so he was just one of those horses that just never quite got over that trip. He probably would have benefited from a 2-month period, probably. And a lot of horses just need that time, and he was one of them. But, you know, we're happy that he came back well, and that's the main thing, because a lot of horses come back from that trip, and they actually need more time to get back. But in his case, he recovered quite nicely.
You ran him first start back in the 2-mile Belmont Gold Cup. That's a pretty hard race coming back first time off Dubai. Did he really need it? Was it too long for him? What was the situation?
It could have been a combination of both. Like, we weren't really aiming or focusing on that race, but he was coming along pretty good, and, you know, we felt that, you know, even if we use this race as a prep, you know, whether it was the United Nations or, you know, whatever race we were aiming at later on, that we could use this race as a stepping stone. And he only got beat a couple of lengths, and it was late in his final 70 yards of the race. He actually got caught, and, you know, got tired. He got a lot out of that race, and he came back in the United Nations in a good effort second.
Well, we are about to take a look at his last start in the United Nations. For our audience, he is number 3. He's going to sit a very nice trip and run big in here. Tom, talk about this performance.
We got off nicely. He sat in a real cozy position the first half mile of the race. As we see later on, I thought when they made their way to the backside, I just thought he put himself in a spot where he was in behind the leader. And, not that he had a bad trip, but he couldn't really get into his own rhythm and get out of that pocket a little earlier. But I thought he came with a great run here, a really big effort. And, we just got caught late, and hopefully he could come back off of this race with a sword dancer.
From a handicapper standpoint, and I want to get your opinion, obviously, from a trainer standpoint. From a handicapper standpoint, going 3 turns, it is critical to save ground. And your rider, was it Lescano this day?
Yes.
Okay. I thought Jose did a very, very good job for you. Saved ground every step of the way, eased out. So from a handicapper standpoint, it didn't appear that there was any excuse.
No, but right here, when you watch the race right here, you can see where he gets a little bit in tight, because you can see Jose, he's got some more horse to move forward, but he can't.
Okay.
And I think this was, right here, this was a difference when you're talking about getting beat a head or a nose. This could have been a very important time in the race where he just couldn't squeeze out of there and get some more momentum going, because he doesn't have that really strong kick. He kind of lengthens himself, and if he could have got through here a little quicker, as you can see, I think Jose just he's like just waiting and waiting and waiting to get that seam to come through, and that could have been the difference right here. But other than that, he gets a perfect trip, and Jose does a great job with him. But those are the kind, need that lucky seam to come through, and he gets it here. But I think if he did this a little earlier, it could have been a difference in making a win or a loss.
How did he come out of the UN? How's he been training to tomorrow's sword dancer?
I think he looks fantastic going into the sword dancer. I've never seen him act better, really, all year round. He's just in great shape, and could be a good race tomorrow.
He ran big in this race last year.
Absolutely, he did, and he likes this track. He likes this course. So I'm looking for a big effort.
From what I've seen of him, and I've followed his career for quite a while, he ran huge at Gulfstream last winter. Does he prefer it nice and firm?
He does seem to like firmer ground. At Gulfstream Park, he really did like that track a lot, where he broke the world record there. So he has run good races on good ground. So I think tomorrow with the weather, it looks like it's going to be a dry neck today and tomorrow. I think the ground will be just fine for him.
We have a somewhat unusual situation where, you take the male turf division, the routers, and within 24 hours of each other, you have the Arlington Million and the Sword Dancer, right, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Why the Sword Dancer? I know it's 1.5 miles versus 1.25 miles. Why the Sword Dancer versus the Arlington Million?
Well, I prefer to kind of run, in our own backyard, really, without shipping. And we know, as we talked about earlier, the ship to Dubai, I don't think shipping it is probably what he really wants to do. So I think by running him in our own backyards, I think it's a better advantage for him.
Before we let you go, let's talk about some 2-year-olds. Today, in the 6th race, you have entered a couple of sons of Tap It. Kabang and Tap It Off. Only one is going to run. Who's going to run?
Kabang will run today.
All right.
Yeah.
What's he look like?
Beautiful, big colt. He's been showing a lot of promise here in the mornings. He's a little bit more forward than the other colt, so I'll wait for the other colt maybe another couple of weeks. But, he looks like he's got a lot of potential, and we're hoping to see that this afternoon.
And tomorrow, in the 5th race, this could be a fascinating filly maiden special. You run Ring Knocker, who was a bang-up second here in her debut at, I think she was better than 24-1. How's she doing?
She's doing super. Looking forward to getting her race again, her second start. She got a little bumped at the start in her first start, and she came with a huge run, and only to get beat within the last few stages of the race. But we should see a big improvement off her first race, too.
Well, Tom, as always, we thank you very much for your time. Thanks so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. And we want to show you our appreciation by giving you this $100 gift certificate to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They are open every day for lunch and dinner beginning at 11:30. So please take this with our regards.
Thank you
Have a
very
nice
much.
lunch or dinner on us. Congratulations
Thank you,
on a
Mark.
great meet so far.
Thank you.
Best of luck today and tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank Tom Albertrani, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our next break. When we return, Linda Rice will join us as we go to the break. 2-year-old fillies in the Adirondack. And the 19-10 favorite, number 3, Angela Renee. So we'll take a look at the Adirondack to the break. Back with Linda right after these messages.
Ready? And they're off. Vivian DeBling jumps right out of there. Cavorting was off to a good start, too. Take Charge Brandy now moves out to be second, so it's Vivian DeBling to be the leader. Out there a length and a half. Take Charge Brandy second, just outside of Angela Renee, who moves up a spot. And then Take Charge Brandy now back, running along in fourth. And here's Wonder Gal, who moves through on the inside, up to be fourth now. And then it's Impressive Humor on the far outside. Cavorting in the early trailer is Phoenix Park. 22-3 was the opening quarter mile here for Vivian DeBling, who takes the field into the far turn. Hard on her heels is Angela Renee. Take Charge Brandy. And there goes Cavorting. Cavorting's on the move now and moving swiftly on the far outside with a bold run around the far turn. And Wonder Gal's but 3 lengths from the lead as the field comes to the top of the stretch. The half-mile mark was 45-3. And now the field turning for home. Vivian DeBling off the turn with the lead. Angela Renee cavorting on the outside. Wonder Gal in tight on the rail. 1 furlong to go. Vivian DeBling still clinging desperately to the lead. And cavorting right there in tight quarters with Angela Renee. Cavorting and Angela Renee. Those two in a pitched battle in the final 50 yards of the Adirondack, which will go to Cavorting. Cavorting won it by a length and a half. Angela Renee finishing second. Bit of traffic trouble for Wonder Gal through the stretch third. And Vivian DeBling was fourth.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
The big day is here. You've told everybody. You've dressed the part. Your heart is pounding in your chest. Your horse is rolling down the stretch. He's coming. He's closing. He's the winner. You're a winner with Parting Glass Racing. PartingGlassRacing.com. PartingGlassRacing.wow.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casado. My thanks once again to Tom Albertrani for having joined us, and cavorting for Kieran Andy Rod Ortiz Jr. by a length and a quarter over Angela Renee with Wonder Gal, a somewhat troubled third. 1 minute 16.49 was actually 0.3 of a second faster than the boys ran in the Saratoga Special. Our next guest made history here 5 years ago. Next Saturday, she's going to try to make more history with Kid Cruz and the Travers. We welcome back to Down the Stretch, Linda Rice. Linda, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
Nice to see you as always. Kind of a slow start to the meet, but things have really picked up. Assess your meet.
Yeah, it was, the first week or so, nothing seemed to go quite the right way. But over the past 10, 15 years, I've usually started out a little slow and finished strong, and we did come off a pretty good Belmont meet, and so we had, used up quite a bit of our stock there, and so we did get off to a bit of a slow start, but it's coming together.
Well, you claim Grand Arrival, won first time off the claim for you. Mark my way, I thought that was a very nice effort winning the Stallion Stakes. But the big one thus far at the meet was the A.G. Vanderbilt with Palace. We're about to take a look. For our audience, he is number one. Talk about this big performance.
Well, we were, 6 furlongs was really his best distance, and so I was very excited about this race. He won a stake here for us last year, a registered New York bred stake, and I didn't care for the one post position. He broke a step slow, so things didn't unfold perfectly, but he is a very, very nice horse, and he overcame some obstacles.
Cornelio used them early to get a position, and then he ran down a loose on the lead, Happy My Way. That's a pretty good effort.
Yes, it really was, and the final time was fast. As I said, he's just a tremendous competitor. It's pretty interesting and very special for me because I won a Grade 1 here with his father as a 2-year-old City Zip, and now to win the Vanderbilt with him he's a 5-year-old, but to win a Grade 1 at Saratoga was really exciting.
You claimed him for $20,000 in October of 2012. He's earned about $900,000 since. What did you like so much about him?
Well, that fact right there. When we claimed him, he was a City Zip, which is, I'm very fond of, having trained the father. He was such a great racehorse, and I'm a big believer in him as a stallion. He was a New York bred. He was a maiden. I felt psychologically that Windstar owned him. Billy Mott trained him. He was not one of their marquee racehorses. He was basically on the call list at that point, with 2 mediocre thirds on the dirt, and then a stumble and fell in the stretch, which was somewhat of a hurdle to get past. So I just felt that he wouldn't be on the track for Windstar or Billy Mott if he was in bad shape. So I took a shot on him.
Well, it was a heck of a shot. I imagine you weren't thinking you were claiming a future Grade 1 stakes winner, though.
No, I was hoping we could get through his allowance conditions, and that would have been terrific.
Well, what a claim. And I'm personally glad to hear you say earlier in the interview that 6 furlongs is his best distance. I've always felt that from a handicapping standpoint. But the 4 goes next at Saratoga, and that's 7/8. So do you run him in the 4-go, or do you wait for Belmont?
We're going to train him into the 4-go. He's scheduled to breeze tomorrow, and then next weekend. We're going to train him into it. I'm going to see how the race shapes up, see how the horse is training into that race. And then my client is terrific. He said, listen, it's your call. You can run him in the 4-go. If you want to wait for the Vosburg at Belmont, wait. So we'll see how it goes.
Could you do me a favor? Next time you claim one for $20,000 that's going to win $900, could you let me know? I'll get my allowance from my wife and we can have a little fun. Now, your Travers entrant next Saturday, Kid Cruz. He was beaten 16 lengths in his debut. You claimed him out of his next start for $50,000. What in the world did you see in that debut to put up $50,000 for him?
Well, I liked his pedigree. My client, Stephen Brandt, had called me 3 days before the entries were out. Immediately when the entries were out, he liked the pedigree, and I did as well. And when the horse came into the paddock, I told Stephen, I said, listen, let me take a look at him. And his first race was really, was not a good performance. But I felt that downside, he was probably worth $25,000, Upside, I never dreamed we'd be running him in the Travers, but we are. And so, that was my thinking at the time. And when he walked in the paddock, he had great conformation, a beautiful shoulder, deep in the heart girth, nice walk to him. And he did not look like a grass horse like a lot of the Lemon Drop kids, so I was going to forgive him for that one poor effort on the turf and take a chance. But really, our downside, I said, this horse has got to be worth $25,000. So that was it.
Well, he's worth a lot more than that. He's been a terrific claim. What have you learned about him as you've been working with him?
He's a unique horse, and in Billy Mott's defense on losing this horse, he is not a spectacular breeze horse. He really performs in the afternoon, and I work him in company all the time. He is a dead closer going long, So he's an unusual type of horse, but he has really flourished in the last 4, 5, 6 months, and I'm hoping we'll get a big race Saturday.
The only time he didn't fire, in fact, I refer to this as a non-effort, was the Preakness. Now, I didn't expect him to win, but I expected him to put in some kind of run, and he didn't. Was there a legitimate excuse for that effort?
That was a mystery. We were surprised, kind of shocked, disappointed, all of the above, and didn't know what to make of it. I thought that the rider maybe did not engage him enough, didn't make enough of an effort to engage him, and he was chasing very fast horses. So it was just a non-effort, and there was a lot of noise and tents in the infield, and he just got lost back there, never showed up. So out of that race, we worked on him, and I took a less aggressive route, stayed away from the Belmont, and ran him in the easy goer just to see if we could get him back on track. And with Irad rode him, did a beautiful job, and it turned out well.
Yeah, things have turned out well. Now, we are about to take a look at his last start. This is the Jim Dandy, and please pay particularly close attention. Kid Cruz is number 5. Now, you mentioned it earlier. Basically, he's at his best as a deep closer. I'm watching the start of the Jim Dandy, and he's being sent out of the gate. What in the world was this all about?
I was wondering the same thing, Mark. I think that Irad had ridden him in his 2 previous starts, the Easy Goer and in the Dwyer. And in the Dwyer, there was one strong speed horse, Captain Sirius. And Irad rode him aggressively out of the gate just so he would not lose contact with that horse. And I think that he attempted to do the same thing in the Jim Dandy, and it didn't work out well. We were all wondering what's going on here, what are we doing? And it was kind of an ugly trip, but I would rather have things go poorly in the Jim Dandy than next week, Saturday, in the Travers. So we're hoping things unfold better next time.
Yeah, normally, I've been in this game a very, very long time, and when you have a deep closer, and you take him out of his element, good things do not happen. This was one of the most bizarre thirds I've ever seen in a major stakes race, considering the way he ran, and he never looked comfortable to me. Early on, you got to be pretty pleased with this third.
Yes, at the 5/8 pole, half-mile pole, I thought there was a chance we were going to be distanced.
Yes.
And he did finally get him to re-engage and make a big run. Only got beat 6 lengths. He looked actually the best in the race at the 8th pole coming down the stretch. So we were encouraged by that, and at least he did show up to some extent where we felt that we could move on to the Travers, thank God.
Now, you were somewhat on the fence about even running in the Jim Dandy or training him up to the Travers. Talk to our audience about that.
Well, we had run in the Preakness, and we had run in the Easy Goer on Belmont Day, and then on to the Dwyer. So we had a choice to make to run him back in 3 weeks again, which is a lot for a 3-year-old. So we considered going to the West Virginia Derby. It was a large purse, $750,000, giving him a month between races. But I spoke with all of my clients, both Vinna Del Mar, Stephen Brandt, and Black Swan. And I think that all of us had in the back of our mind that our goal was the Travers, for a lot of reasons. And so the best way to get into the Travers was to skip the West Virginia Derby, run in the Jim Dandy, and see how it played out. So,
how did he come out of the Jim Dandy? Now, you don't train him a lot between. Let me rephrase that. The workout patterns for Kid Cruz don't appear to be normal workout patterns in between races. Talk about that.
Correct. Well, last spring we'd had a few issues with him. He'd gotten a pinched nerve in his base of his neck in his shoulder out of the Private Terms Stakes. So we were kind of nursing a little bit of an injury, and we had worked on his shoulder for a while. He had missed the Wood Memorial because of it. We ran on the Private Terms. We ran back in the Frederick Tessio and on to the Preakness. And as I said, he's not a strong breeze horse in the morning. He really needs a partner, some company to breeze with. But he's also not a big, heavy horse. He's a little light-bodied. He doesn't carry an abundance of weight, so I don't want to use him up in the morning. He trains strong every morning in his gallops and enjoys them. And I'd like to keep him strong and have weight on him into these races, which has worked well so far.
Will he be better going into the Travers than he was going into the Jim Dandy?
I think he will be. We were running back 3 weeks from the Dwyer. He'd run a strong race that day, was ridden every jump of the race because we were having to stay close to Captain Sirius, the one-speed horse. So, you know, I was reluctant to run him back in 3 weeks, was concerned about him making a regression, which maybe he did, and it was quite an ugly trip as well. With all that said, I really feel that he's coming into the Travers superb.
Now, we know Bayern is a very, very good racehorse who is doing exceptionally well. So that's another good racehorse you're going to have to beat. But the advantage is he adds a lot of pace to the Travers. So can we expect next Saturday, when the gates open, that Kid Cruz is going to relax early and then make a run?
Yes, I would certainly think that will help our cause to hopefully have enough pace to run into. And obviously Bayern is a big concern. I mean, you know, there's always a chance he'll go to the lead and never look back. But it should set up better for Kid Cruz this time.
Will he be your first ever Travers starter?
Yes, he will. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, what's it mean to you?
Well, I've been coming to Saratoga for 20 years, and I've won a lot of the 2-year-old races here. The Spin Away, the Hopeful, the Adirondack, the Saratoga Special. But it's always been in the back of my mind that my dream would be to win the Travers at Saratoga. So here we are.
Well, I mentioned during the introduction that you made history here. Hard to believe it was 5 years ago. When you think back at 2009, what you accomplished that summer, and I imagine it brings a big smile to your face, what do you appreciate most about that?
Well, that was just a phenomenal meet for me, and everything unfolded the right way. You know, in every photo that I needed to win, I won, and Todd lost. It was really a spectacular season for me, and you know, that was 5 years ago, and my hopes have been the last couple of years to try to start finding my way to these Triple Crown races, and so, you know, it's really very meaningful for me to have a horse in the Travers that legitimately belongs.
Has your life changed professionally much since making history 5 years ago?
Yes, I believe, you know, it has. You know, I certainly am much more recognized by the racing community and the owners. So yes, I would say it has.
Well, the audience can't see this, but we have a standing room only crowd here for Linda, so I guess things have been very good for you, and we're very pleased.
Thank you.
And as always, we appreciate you taking time to have joined us this morning. We know you're busy, and we want to say thank you by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They are open every day, beginning at 11:30 for lunch and dinner. So please take this with our regards. Have a nice lunch or dinner on us. And good luck next Saturday. Good luck for the rest of the meet.
Thank you, Mark.
Good seeing you as always. Yeah. Linda Rice, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our final break. When we return, Mr. Bill Mott will join us as we go to this break, the Saratoga Special. The slight favorite at 2.5 to 1, number 1, I Spent It. So we will take a look at the Saratoga Special to the break. Back with Bill Mott right after these messages.
And they're off. And quickly, there goes Majestic Affair. Nona's Boy off to a good start, too. And Cinco Charlie. So it's Cinco Charlie, Nona's Boy. Head-to-head early on here. I Spent It now third toward the inside. Majestic Affair now runs along in fourth. Mr. Z is fifth and in between horses. On the inside, Lord Tyrene races in sixth. WV Jet Setter, seventh on the outside. Rod McLeod is eighth. Stanford second to last. And Cleveland Sound the trailer. And Nona's Boy has gone to the lead. Nona's Boy, the leader. 21-3 was the opening quarter mile for Nona's Boy, is just blazing around the far turn. But Cinco Charlie catching up once again. On the outside, Majestic Affair right there. And I Spent It, ready to roll. He's just in behind the lead fourth. WV Jet Center fifth on the outside. Stanford wide off the turn. He's now sixth, but he's only 4 lengths from the lead. Mr. Z right there in the thick of it, too, and he's looking for a seam to come out for the final drive. Cleveland Sound is catching up to the front runners inside the final furlong. Oh, so tight for I Spent It. Mr. Z comes comes up on the outside. I Spent It now with clear running, and he's kicking in. I Spent It kicking in and kicking away. Mr. Z giving chase. I Spent It, a dramatic winner of the Saratoga Special. Mr. Z was second, three-way photo for third. Cleveland Sound, WV Jet Setter, Cinco Charlie.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Sovereign Stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign Stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to CapitalOTB.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. CapitalOTB.com.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. My thanks to Linda Rice once again for having joined us. And I Spent It for one of last week's guests, Tony Dutrow, and Javier finally gets through and wins the Saratoga Special by an expanding 2 3/4 lengths. Our final guest this morning is enjoying yet another fine Saratoga meet. He has a big day in front of him with a trio of fillies in the Alabama, one maybe special filly in the Lake Placid. He'll be in action at Arlington Park in Chicago. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Hall of Famer Bill Mott. Bill, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you as always. Well, we have got a busy interview here. Let's get right to it. We're going to take a look back at a couple of turf stakes victories at the meet, beginning with a 4-star Dave. Seek again as we pick it up. Number 2, fourth on the fence. Bill, you decided to turn him back to 1 mile, and he responded big time.
Right. We had the option of probably going to the Arlington Million, going 10 furlongs, but we felt like if we ran in here, ran in the 4-star Dave, and he proved very effective at 1 mile, then there would be more opportunities between now and the end of the year. There's not many opportunities at 9 or 10 furlongs for top-class horses beyond the Arlington Million. So this is the race we chose, and worked out well.
He showed a great deal of courage in the stretch as he lacked room for much of the run through the lane. Talk about this.
Well, you know, he had to switch directions twice in the stretch. He started, you know, the pace horse started to, was drifting in. He started to split horses. Then that horse drifted back in on top of us, and he had to go back to the inside. So it was, you know, 2 different times from the 3/16 pole to the wire. He had to change directions, and the horse still had enough courage to come on through and finish up the race in track record time nonetheless.
Not too shabby. How'd he come out of it?
Looks good, and you know, we hope to probably run in the Woodbine race or the Keeneland's Shadwell. Yeah.
Which means hopefully you hook up again with Wise Dan, because that was a heck of a race in a turf classic at Churchill Downs.
Right. It was a good race, and we were beaten ahead by a 2-time champion, and you know, just based on that race alone, we felt we had a good horse.
You also won the De La Rose with a nice filly by the name of Falimbi. And as we pick it up, she is number 9, currently 5th on the screen. Bill, since coming to your barn from France, she's 2 for 3, beaten only by Somali Lemonade. Talk about this filly.
Very good race. I mean, we've liked her. We liked the way she trained, you know, all winter in Florida. She came to us in good order, and she came to us with a fairly good reputation, although she was, you know, she was a listed winner and not a graded winner, but she stepped up. We've ran her through the 3 other than condition, and now in a restricted stakes, and it looks like off of this effort, the fact that she beat a graded stakes winner in Day at the Spa looks like we're ready to go on to a graded stakes ourselves.
Are you thinking about the Ballston Spa, or is that too quick?
It's an option. There's also another race the middle of September at Belmont Park, which is a Grade 3 stake, and we're having a good look at that as well.
All 3 of her races for you have been at a mile. Is that her strength, middle distance turf racing?
It appears to, and the odd thing about it is she's out of a Kentucky Oaks winner, and I'm not so sure she wouldn't run well on the dirt if we ever had that opportunity. Right now she's running well enough on the grass, we're probably going to leave her there, but one day before her career's over, I'd probably hope to give her a try on the dirt.
All right, in today's Alabama, Mr. Mott has 3 starters. We're going to begin with Size. Here she is, number 3, in front, at least for the time being, winning the Iowa Oaks. Tell us about Size.
Very gritty filly, got a late start. We had to turn her out early as a 2-year-old, so she came in late. We didn't get her started till after the first of the year, and we sprinted her 3 times, once in a stake where I think she came on and placed, but we felt it was time to stretch her out. She seemed very determined. Sent her to Iowa, and she got the job done in a graded stake over there. So, this will be a big step. We're going from 8.5 furlongs to 10 furlongs, and we're kind of going into unknown territory. But based on the fact that she is a very gritty, willing, honest type filly, I think it's worth the effort. The Alabama's a very important race, and of course that's why we're running 3 fillies in there, to give them all their opportunity.
Would you expect that she would be forwardly placed this afternoon going 10 furlongs?
I would think so. I mean, if you were looking at the race just based on what you see on paper, I think you'd have to think she's going to be one of the pace horses, if not the pace horse. I mean, that's, looking at a piece of paper, that's what it looks like.
You're also going to be running the 3rd and 4th place finishers out of the coaching club, Miss Bessie Lou and America, the latter who adds blinkers. They're both going to have to step up later this afternoon.
They've got to step up, but, we've been waiting for the 10 furlong distance all year with America. She's very steady, a little bit of a filly that's a bit of a grinder, not a big kick, but she keeps coming, and we've been waiting for this opportunity all year. We thought, we've been looking forward to it. I know she's got to step up, move forward, which we're hoping, that she will today. And Miss Bessie Lou, the same. She's been a hard-knocking filly. We tried her back on the dirt. She's, she could actually be a little better filly on the grass, but she ran well enough on the dirt. And these big filly races coming up, we wanted to give her the chance.
Well, I am pretty excited to be talking to you about this next filly. It's your starter in the Lake Placid this afternoon. It is Crown Queen, a half-sister to multiple champion Royal Delta. Talk to us about Crown Queen.
Well, this is a filly that we've been excited about ever since she was a yearling. Mr. Leone bought her in the November sale at the same time that he bought Royal Delta, and of course she had never run. And we ran a couple times as a 2-year-old, ran credible races, Little Green, very immature, gave her the winner off, came back, and she's 2 for 2, broke her maiden, finished fast through the stretch at Belmont, going a mile. Ran her a mile and 3/16 up here. She finished fast, just got beat won the race and just missed the track record by a tick or 2. And, once again, here's a filly that's stepping up in class, same as Size. I mean, we're moving up in class. It's always a big test, and these are good fillies in here. It's a small but select field, but we're going to give it a chance. I mean, she was impressive, not only to me, but probably a lot of people. Maybe you yourself, you seem a little excited.
Yes, I am. In fact, I want to show the audience this race. This is the entry-level allowance here at Saratoga, and Crown Queen is number 11. Please pay close attention. Bill, I've watched a lot of grass racing in my years, and the move she made going down the backstretch to the far turn, where she went from 5th to the lead in a blink of an eye, You don't see a lot of moves like that, particularly from an inexperienced 3-year-old filly. This looks like a pretty special filly.
Right. I would agree with you. I think she is. I think the interesting part about the race today is there's probably nobody in there that looks like the pace horse, or maybe there's nobody in there that wants to be the pace horse. I'm not really sure. So I think that'll be probably something that I've got to leave up to the rider. Obviously, I've got a Hall of Fame rider on her, and hopefully he'll make all the right moves with her today and give her the right chance.
Folks, watch this now. She's 5th. Please watch this move around the far turn. Now, Bill, I mentioned, kind of interesting, she's a half-sister to Royal Delta, who was spectacular on dirt. Yet Crown Queen is run only on turf.
Right. Physical differences in both. Royal Delta was kind of an Amazon. She was a big filly with, a lot of muscle behind. This filly's a little more of a narrow-made filly, and her stride has always been more suitable on turf. I mean, she just moves better on the grass. It's much easier for her, and of course she's by a different sire, which is probably the difference.
How did she come out of this race, and how's she been training up to this afternoon's Lake Placid?
She's been doing very well. I mean, I think she's improved, I believe. Last year, from her first race to her second race, she kind of regressed, and it was a lot of stress for her. We gave her the time, and now it seems like she's mentally more ready for these challenges that we're putting before her. And this is a big one, but I think she's ready to give it a try.
Do you expect her to become a special filly?
I think she is, just based on what we saw the last 2 races. I mean, it certainly looks like it to me. I mean, visually, as a trainer and what I see and how she did it, I thought it was both races were races that would get you excited.
All right, we'll have to do the rest of this quickly, so we won't be able to show any video, but let's go over several other of your horses, beginning with Tourist, who goes in the Secretariat this afternoon, unbeaten on grass, using his natural speed. Can he relax enough to get 1.25 miles?
I think he can. I mean, he seems like he's got so much natural speed, but he's not a horse that's really running off. It seems like he's been, a manageable type horse, even though he's been on the lead. And it seems like when he turns for home, he's got something left. Now, today, when he turns for home, he's going to have already been 1 mile, and we'll have to see if there's enough gas in the tank to get him the 1.25 miles. But I think we seem to think that, given his pedigree, he's by a horse by Tiznow, who gets horses that can get a trip, and I would think there's a very good chance that he could do it.
Emollient goes in the Beverly D, coming out of a bizarre race in the Diana.
Had a really rough trip. I mean, she was pretty well mangled, from the start to the finish, and the whole thing with her is the trip. I mean, if she gets a nice smooth trip, she's fine. If she gets bounced around on the inside, and the way she did the other day, it's going to be a long 1 mile and 3/16 for her. But if things go smoothly, if she breaks cleanly, and I think there's pace in the race. I don't think she's going to be on the lead, but if it's all about the trip with her.
Amir's Prince tomorrow, quickly, for the Sword Dancer, coming off a dull effort in last.
Yeah, I think anybody that's playing horses would have to be a little bit skeptical about him. I think he's done better since his last race, but that was a little bit of a head scratcher, and really for me, I mean, I think he's doing well. His last work was very good, but I need to see it for myself that he's going to move forward. It's one of those things where anytime they've thrown in a race like that, it leaves you sort of wondering, even if you're the one that's training him and looking at him every day. So, I have to wait and see the race tomorrow and see where we go from there.
Will we see close hatches next Friday in the Personal Ensign?
That's the plan. We just finished. She's still cooling out over there. We just worked her on the Oklahoma racetrack, and she went very well. I was very pleased with her.
And finally, we could spend an hour with Bill. Finally, you got Lee from Claiborne earlier this year, ran him on dirt at Gulfstream, and it was sensational. What's going on with him? We haven't seen him since the Don.
Developed a fever. We were waiting actually for the race that they run at Charlestown. We were going to run in there and perhaps the Met Mile and the Whitney. That was my plan. I mean, we had it sort of mapped out what we wanted to do. Of course, you know, these horses dictate, you know, what we're going to do and what we're not going to do.
The best laid plans.
So, you know, laying out those plans didn't work out. He got sick. We had to wait. We gave him some time off. You know, we let him recuperate. He's back. He worked this morning. He was a good 5/8 out 3/4 this morning on the Oklahoma track. And he's been, you know, we've been able to get him on a regular schedule now, and he seems to be doing well. And if all is well, we're going to run him in the Woodward.
Great. Bill, we thank you for your time. We know you're very busy. We appreciate your time, and we want to say thank you by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They're open daily for lunch or dinner beginning at 11:30. So please take this with our regards.
Thank you.
Have a nice lunch or dinner on us.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Okay.
Good luck. Bill Mott, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're going to wrap things up. Got to remind you quickly, next week, Travers Day, 11:35 first post. We will be on 1 hour earlier, beginning at 9 o'clock. Want to thank everybody who helped get this week's show on the air. Want to thank our guests, Bill Mott, Linda Rice, and Tom Albertrani. And thanks to our sponsors, Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership, and Bill Mott saddled Sanctify for Parting Glass to a spa victory earlier at the meet. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com, and by Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, here in downtown Saratoga. Call them for reservations at 871-1600. As always, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Have a wonderful Alabama Day. Have a terrific upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week at 9 o'clock.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.